life. Who could complain? Who could complain? It's 2024. We're having a great time. We're having a great time. We might have a bit of COVID again. That's okay. That's okay. Who cares about stupid COVID, right? We were at a 50th wedding anniversary of my in-laws, so a better weekend than my dad's funeral the weekend before. That's not that fun, right? But I had a good time, actually. I shouldn't say that. It was a great time. Not as fun as we're going to have this morning, though, because we're going to be laughing at all kinds of stuff. Christine, good morning. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're doing well, Christine. That means YouTube is working. So happy about that. What is this? Studio campaigns. Don't know. What's going on here? Okay. Good morning, Bitcoiners. Exactly. We'll be talking about that, Lance, tonight. We'll be talking about Trump and Elon on X tonight. Must-see internet, indeed. Daniel, good morning. Daniel was out by my farmhouse yesterday. I hope you had a good visit to Sutton, Quebec, Daniel. It's a beautiful town. We love it. You should go have a look at Fredericksburg next time if you've never been. Just as nice. Maybe a little less places to go and do, but it's a nice village. A lot of fun. And that's how you get to Montreal. You go through there. So we like that. Narwhal Tacos. Good morning from the intransient Rumble minority. Good morning, Narwhal. PH. Morning breakup gang. That reminds me of P-Man. I owe you an email, P-Man. Pardon me. I've been running around. Robert. Good morning, Nolan. Dale. Good morning, everyone. I hope you're doing well, Dale. Edwin. Good morning, breakup crew. Just in time for the best morning show. We love it, Edwin. Thanks a lot, my man. Good morning, Team Kamala. 2024. Let's go. We love Kamala. We are big fans of Kamala. We'll be talking about Kamala today. She's our favorite. What do we do if she wins? We love it. Let's go, Kamala. Not too hot today, Seaberger17 says. Blaine Smith, good morning, crew. Edwin, coffee. Daniel, Sutton reminded me of Stowe a little. Yeah, it's a lot like Stowe, Daniel. That's kind of the point. It's very like nice community. You know, I grew up there, so I know I'm the next town over, but it was very related. In fact, my town, Brome Lake, is kind of the more, I don't know, Stowe-y town. The people in Sutton, when I grew up, used to laugh at us, people from Brome Lake, because all the parties and all the gatherings and all the stuff were in Brome Lake. Like where we did my dad's funeral was where everyone in the area would go to hang out all the time. And I worked there for many years. So it was very cool in high school because I worked there throughout high school. And if you didn't know, in Quebec, it's not really 18-year-old drinking age. Like you can go to the bar when you're 16, 17. If you're cool, like not if you go to get wasted, you're not going to make it. But if you just go to hang out, no problem. And because I worked in the bar, I could get people in the back door all the time. You know, sometimes in the front door wasn't that easy if you were a little young, but I would open the back door and no one cared. So it was when I was like a freshman and a sophomore in high school, it was an incredible power because the seniors really wanted to get into the bar, and they literally had to come to me as like a freshman high school kid to be like, hey man, you know, can you come hang out with us and eat lunch with the cool high school kids if you let me in the bar on the weekend? So anyway, that was the thing about Sutton. We never really, people from my town were notorious not leavers. So there you go. All right, Crypto Truth, you made it. You got a few minutes here. We're glad you're here before you got to go mine some fiat. Enjoy. I'll get right to the sun acknowledgement. What do you think about it's pretty good, huh? I like this one today. This is what we're going to get upgraded, upgraded. So the sun came up. A beautiful sunrise. It was awesome. I think I missed the super glow. I slept in a little bit today. I think this picture was taken at about 6 a.m., which is a sleep in for me. And I'm pretty sure we had an amazing red sky this morning, but I only got it when it was behind that cloud. So we got Somewhat subtle hues, but that's okay. The sun came up, everyone. We're doing great. Bitcoin's also running. What else is there to do except talk about Kamala and the funny stuff that Trump is talking about? And other things that are related to our love of Bitcoin. But first, let's talk about the weather. The weather. Where is it hot? It's still summertime. What's going on? This one's pretty good, guys. You're not going to believe this. You're not going to believe where it's hot. I found a place this weekend, and the question the news asks is actually super appropriate. Let's just see. Death Valley, everyone. Death Valley is hot, and it keeps getting hotter. Now, I was always under the impression that Death Valley was like really. Oh, Death Valley was hot already. How will we survive? How are we going to survive Death Valley? I don't know. You know, the Fiat News is really doing a great job trying to isolate the most important questions, particularly about the environment. And this, you know, it's an age-old question. How hot is Death Valley going to get? Right? So I don't know. Maybe we'll get an answer. Where else is it hot? This one's pretty good. This is, you know, the Great Barrier Reef. You know, Australia. Guess what? Australia's hot. Great Barrier Reef waters were the hottest in 400 years over the past decade, study finds. So what they're saying here is that they know how to get decade-long aggregates over a 400-year span of the Great Barrier Reef, because everybody knows 400 years ago, it was the 1600s. And everybody knows that even though it was like a couple hundred years before anyone was heading there and doing anything that knew what a thermometer was, come on, we went there, and the Aboriginals. Now, I know people said they never left the coast and they only ate the raw crustaceans when first contact with Europeans was made with the Aboriginals. That's what some people say, right? I know the truth. They had mercury thermometers and they were diving. That's what they were doing. The Aboriginals, that's why they're staying close to the coast. That's why they weren't going in to hunt any dingoes or kangaroos. That's why they stayed on those rocky shores on the side, because they were actually dedicated to the 10-year aggregate temperature statistics and numbers and the data integrity of the Great Barrier Reef weather systems. So I'm glad they did that. I'm glad that the Aboriginals 400 years ago left such an intact data set, and that we can now determine that the 10-year aggregate this decade was actually the hottest. Because if we didn't have that data point, you think they did it with like fancy acorn science like they do in the land? There's no acorns, okay, guys? They can't do the tree ring thing. They don't have trees in there, so you know you're out of luck. I know they took the temperatures, okay? I know they did it. Where else is it getting cold? This one's great, okay? This one's one of my favorites ever. This one is really a beautiful work of art. And there's a few of them here. Let me just make sure I get them in order, because everyone's really worried about the glaciers. Yes, the glaciers. Oh, come to that. Oops. The glaciers. This one's great. Okay, so everyone ready? We're worried about the glaciers melting. I have a whole bunch of glacier stories here. The first one's awesome, right? This is my big worry. It's the tropical glaciers. All right, they're melting at an unprecedented extent. Now, I live in the tropics in the winter, and I'm telling you, it's bad. I've never seen a single glacier in Barbados, not one. There isn't a glacier in Barbados anymore. So this must have been going on for a while, that we don't have glaciers at the tropics. I don't know how long it's been, because the Aboriginals also did not leave us records in the Great Barrier Reef. So, I mean, does that mean their glaciers are gone too? So all I know here is that the tropical glaciers that I'm so used to seeing in my life, tropical glaciers are my favorite kind of glaciers. I usually try to go skiing in the tropics. When I go to Barbados, I bring my skis every year because they, you know, I heard they had tropical glaciers. So everyone's like, why do you come here if you like skiing? You can go in Vermont and you can ski. I say, but tropical glaciers, guys. I'm going to go skiing down here. It's going to be great. But little did I know, you know, too many cow farts later, and I can't even ski in the tropics on a tropical glacier anymore. What's this world coming to? I mean, it's really not getting good. We got more glacier stories, though. That's not it. Everyone's worried. It's not just the tropical glaciers. There's more. There's more trouble, right? A melting Alaska glacier, okay? in Alaska, it's also melting. That's not even a tropical one. That's in Alaska, guys. What are we going to do? There's more, though. How to save your glacier and avert a sea level catastrophe. Rapidly melting ice has kicked off a race to find solutions. They're already gone from the tropics. They could be gone wherever you're from next. It's not going to be good, right? We're not going to have any glaciers. It's going to be the worst. Where else do I have them here? This one's really fun. This is fun. Summer or winter? Which season is warming faster in your town? Guess what? Moscow. Moscow, everyone. Moscow's getting warmer in the winter. Okay. So, it used to be like minus 30 in Moscow in the winter, but global warming. So it's like minus 25. It's like 5 degrees. Now, I mean, I think that the ice age or the glaciers are not as threatened up there because they're not tropical ones. But keep your eye on the Moscow area glaciers, right? Because they're done. It's getting too warm in the winter in Moscow. Tell everyone in Moscow, you people, it's getting just so warm in the winter in Moscow. Let's worry about that. It's time to worry about it, right? Excellent stuff. Where else is it hot? We found out that it was hot in Paris. Olympic marathons plus scorching heat equals one more issue for Paris organized, guys. It was summer yesterday, still summer in Paris, and it was almost 90 degrees. They had to run, can you believe it, in 90-degree temperature in the summer? Well, they should have canceled the Olympics. It's too hot. Too hot. Too hot. It's like Death Valley hot, right? This one's great, right? This is sort of along the same lines as the Aboriginals at the Great Barrier Reef with their really data integrity database about the temperatures. We're just so glad they left us with a really strong data set. It's like, I'm from Quebec. Quebec has this great genetic database, right? Because it's a very limited source population. They did a lot of rules about who could get married. It had to be really far apart. So they have this incredible data set, right? It's a contribution to humanity, 400 years of genetic data. It's treasured by people who study genetics. The Quebec data set of the integrity of the data set of Quebec genetics, just a boon to humanity, right? A boon to humanity. It's like the data set they left in the Aboriginals left in Australia about the Great Barrier Reef, but it's not as good as this one because they only went 400 years and did the 10-year aggregates, right? So we can do better. What happened in California? It turns out that July was California's hottest month in history, everyone, in history, all time. So they went back thousands of years. Now, you're going to say they cheated because they have the acorns and the tree rings. So they can use the tree rings and the acorns to know exactly what the temperature was 400 years ago. So nothing really new here, but I just want to say at least we know that this July was the hottest in the entire history of the world in California. So some areas see days of temperatures over 100 degrees, drying plants and fueling wildfires as extreme heat creates deadly conditions. So there you go. That's what's going on over there. All right, that's what we got for weather. Now, I got a couple more that are pretty fun here, which was the first. I warned you that we were going to get lots of Lord of the Rings fake news, right? Lots of Lord of the Rings. There's a new one here. They haven't been coming quite as hot and heavy as I thought they would. I thought we'd have more, but we're at one a week at least. So this is pretty great, right? Fascists have twisted Tolkien into Lord of the Right Wing. Everyone knows that. I mean, everyone knows Gollum was the good guy, right? It's just obvious. And Sauron, I mean, come on, who's not cheering for him? It's just great, right? We love him. A little bit of COVID here, guys. I think, anyway. We love COVID. All right, now we got a special little section here today on all of the Tim Walz and Kamala Harris. Let's call it Boosterism. What's going on with the Tim Walz and Kamala Harris campaign? What's happening? Let's find out, right? they said, some people used to say that Kamala had a really annoying laugh. I was one of those people. I was like, man, that laugh is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. I can't stand a minute of her laughing. But then, you know how these things can go. They told me it was joy. And now that's all I hear is joy. Listen to it. Listen to what people are saying about Kamala's laugh. It's amazing. Here, The Atlantic. The Harris-Walz campaign's message of joy has extended to the most relatable of things. Food. They like food, everyone. So Kamala Harris loves food, and she's joyful. Here's another one. New York Times. Harris used to worry about laughing. Now joy is fueling her campaign. I'm so happy about this. There's more joy. This is from Washington Post. Harris and Walz seize on joyful message in contrast to Trump's darker themes. Joy, joy, joy. Just excellent, right? And everyone knows here that smiling has become the new symbol of white supremacy. So it's not the same as joy. Joy and laughter is not smiling. If you're smiling, you're a right-wing fucking loser. But you got to be and then it's joy. It's just joy, right? Come on, enjoy the joy. This is good too, from the Free Press. Kamala Harris and the election of laughter and forgetting. Indeed, you must forget. Don't remember. You must forget. Laugh and forget. Okay, it's fine. It's fine. Don't worry about it. And what else do we got here? We got a few on Tim Walz, right? What's going on with Tim Walz? People are saying he's a stolen valor guy, right? And that's not what happened. That's not what happened, guys, right? He misspoke. He misspoke. Come on. It's not stolen valor. He didn't lie about the military service. He misspoke when he discussed using weapons of war. He just misspoke. It's fine. Don't worry, right? Don't worry about it. I misspoke, right? It's fine. I agree. You misspoke. It's okay. It's okay. Now we got some good ones from the English thing, right? Well, we got one more. Well, I'll bring that one up later. We got these ones from England, of course, England talking about arresting all of us. Now, all I've been thinking about, by the way, for the past couple of days is going to England and tweeting shit, by the way. That's all I want to do now. Don't ask me why. I was telling my wife this weekend, I really want to go to the UK and see if Keir Starmer is going to arrest me, because they've been talking about arresting people, right? So they did the thing on Friday where they said, think before you tweet. And then Elon took that as a threat to ex-users, saying that they were going to go after them. They confirmed it was a threat. The UK confirmed it was a threat, so he suspended the UK Gov Twitter handle. They confirmed it was a threat, and they said that, they're going to go after Elon Musk too. So that's what we found out, right? We found out that who else should be on trial for the UK's far-right riots? It's Elon Musk. Everybody knows he should be on trial. Come on. He tweeted that there's riots over there. He's got to be on trial for that. I mean, how can he get away with this? How could he get away? And we know that the UK police commissioner threatens to extradite jail U.S. citizens over online posts. We'll come after you. So they're actually suggesting that they're going to extradite Americans in America. They're going to say, hey, you said something about England in America. You're going to have to come to England and go to jail now, right? So that sounds like a credible plan. I think things are going to work out for the UK. This is all great. Here we got Keir, what's his name again? I don't know his name. This guy, the guy who is the Prime Minister of England. Tech giants will be forced to ban fake news under Labour plans, right? It's going that way, right? And of course, The Guardian letting us know his rhetoric has made Tesla toxic. Is Elon Musk driving away his target market? Do you guys have anyone in your life that's a libtard that has a Tesla? Like they bought the Tesla before Elon got into the whole Twitter thing. I'm lucky enough to have that in my family. I've got the most libtarded people in my family all have Teslas. They fucking hate them now. It's hilarious. It's hilarious. And I always do the thing where, because I drive a V8 car, like I just guzzle the gas, right? Like crazy amounts of gas my car uses. And I always get in the States and it's much cheaper and blah, blah. I go to the Indians too. There's no tax and da, da, da. So I have a good gas setup. I probably pay, 25% less than an American pays for gas. And then, so the V8's no problem for me, but I get to offer that to them all, right? I know he's right wing, but you should try my V8 car. It's the best. No, there's no owner of of X owning my car. They just make cars, right? So they don't like that either. They do not like that either. So that's what we got. That's our Moscow time for today. Oh no, I have one more. This one's great. I have one more. This is from the King of England, right? Because he's been talking about the riots too. This one's great. The King of England. King Charles tells Prime Minister Keir Starmer he is encouraged by the way Britain's compassionate community spirit has countered the aggression and criminality from racist thugs who rioted after the Southport stabbings. So we love it. We love it. Thank you, England, for that amazing contribution. So that's what we got. That is our Moscow time for today. So now, and speaking of the UK, they're going to be initiating now, besides all the censorship, they're going to be teaching the kids in the UK how to read the news, right? Because we all have to know how to read the news. They're so good at it in the UK. They're so media literate in the UK. Of course, they know this is the truth, right? You know who else should be on trial. This is the UK, The Guardian. They know Elon Musk should be on trial. So you've got to be able to read the news as well as the average English person. Otherwise, you're an idiot, right? So what do we know about what's going on over in the UK and how their media literacy is? Are they going to teach people that the news is real? Probably. They're probably going to say, my guess is in the UK, they're going to say that you can judge the veracity or truthfulness of news by the source. That's what it's going to be. If it's this source or if it's that source, right? If it's the New York Times, obviously true. If it's the Guardian, obviously true. If it's X, it's going to be fake. Now, they're on to something here in the sense that you have to know who you're talking about, right? That is one of the things we talk about here all the time. Know who the players are. The news story doesn't matter. That never mattered, right? And this is something that I think we try to do all the time here on The Breakup. We try to isolate who the source is coming from, which is why we always talk about the Washington Post, the New York Times, NBC, CBS, the big major American networks. Because it turns out we haven't had real news in a long time. And what we try to do here is spread media literacy, right? Part of the point of The Breakup is to underline that we live in a fake system using brainwashing as the main operating system in order to perpetuate the financial system that comes alongside it. The fake money requires the propaganda. No government could survive. No government. None could survive a free press. It would be devastating because then you'd have people who are media literate enough to know that they're being scammed on a daily basis. So the way we've built governments is finished because the minute people are aware of what's going on, it's all going to come down. Now, what we teach here for media literacy, first of all, is just realize that all media sources are fake. Fox, almost all of them. Now, X is different because it is decentralized, right? I'd say Nostr is different because it's decentralized in the sense that you have a lot of people like me who have no other motivation than to connect with like-minded people and try and share information and use our P2P psychological barrier to avoid getting spun by fake news. We have a nice feedback loop. I'm getting comments constantly. I have no way of hiding from what you guys are saying. I have to interact with it live. That's why we do the show live, right? Because we want this dialogue. We want to be able to know where the penetration is coming from, how to block the penetration, how to keep these terrible thoughts out of us. Because in the end, we're all prone to it, right? There is no way to avoid being prompt engineered. That is the operating system. All right. If I do 1, 3, 5, 7, you're going to fill in the blank. That's just it. Your brain will understand the pattern. We are pattern recognition machines. We will give the answer. And you can't stop that. That is like telling someone they can't blink their eyes or they can't breathe or they have to change their breathing rhythm or something. It's impossible to do. You're hardwired in certain ways as a human being. And one of the ways you're hardwired is to see patterns. And one of the ways you're hardwired is to predict what happens next. And if you backfill enough of the patterns with fake patterns, you'll end up inducing a prediction of more fake patterns. So it's almost impossible to avoid, right? But what you can do is you can exactly start with all news is fake, right? All news is fake. Now, I'm going to say this backwards in the sense that you're waiting for me to say, oh, Kamala did this, that wrong or whatever, right? What she did yesterday with the tax on tips thing, you see all these conservatives now, all the Trump people so angry, right? Because she went and stole Trump's tax on tips policy idea. It's the first one she stole. Right? It's the first policy she's given. But what she did here, right? So, and everyone's pointing out, oh my God, look at all the times Kamala Harris cast tie-breaking vote in bill causing IRS to crack down on waitress underreported tips. So here they're trying to give you the news stories from a long time ago about how Kamala Harris was anti tax-free tips for waitresses, and now she just came out and said it. She definitely stole Trump's plan. There's no doubt about it, right? But again, what this should remind you of is that there is literally no way you're ever going to get the news to play ball, let's say. No government can survive real news. What she did was actually a big win. She got everyone she got everyone to see 1 second. Pardon me, guys. So one of the things she did with this is really steal Trump's momentum entirely. And it leads me to believe there is someone very capable on her campaign that's going to be able to roll the news very well. This is not the normal Democrat operative that we've seen before. This isn't the same thing she had before, right? She's got someone in there that is smart enough to know that this would work perfectly on the low awareness, low information voter, the type of person who believes that the news today is real, right? So they're going to hear all this stuff. They're never going to go back and check this stuff. None of these news stories are ever going to make an impact. Oh, Kamala is a hypocrite. Everyone calling out hypocrisy never works. Okay. So even if she thought about this stuff before, not going to make that big of a difference this time, right? Most of the sludge people are going to say, oh, she's also going to do no tax on tips. So she really did just steal a major weapon of Trump's, and it just neutralized. It's a wash now. It doesn't really make a difference, right? So, but again, go back to what I said about the type of media literacy we're trying to propagate here, the type of P2P information shielding that Bitcoiners have to operate in under this environment that we're in with these centralized news broadcasters, absolutely understanding their power to prompt engineer all people, including us. That's why the P2P network is important, because it's the only way to keep from being prompt engineered from these folks. So now what we know is that all news is fake. The whole industry of news has to be captured by government, especially if the government is in charge of printing money. So it has to be that way. A fiat system requires the declarations, the words. Remember, fiat is the words that government says, right? The declarations governments have equal the money. The money, fiat money, simply means that a government declaration is also money. And government debts are money, and anything government says becomes money. So the words of government being money require, absolutely 100% require, the complicit, captured behavior of the news. Otherwise, it won't work. It just won't work. And we'll talk about that in a second. So don't expect the media, don't point out, oh, the media said this and they said that and now, right? It's good for us together in a P2P environment to laugh at it. But trying to use your logic, we're not in a logic environment here. This is not logic. No one is going to see this and say, oh, Kamala is a hypocrite. Oh my God, she was like after people with taxes, and now she says no. No one cares. It's just not, no one, it won't work, right? It's just not going to help. So there you go. But this is what we have to teach each other, right? Nothing from the news. And we can't hope for the news to save us, right? It's not like Fox is going to penetrate the minds of the sludge people. And even if it did, who cares? Fox abandoned the scam election of 2020 within minutes. I have never been on Fox's website since the week after the election in 2020. I will never visit it again. It's a trash organization. It's garbage. It's the same as CNN. There's no difference. Just because they're telling you things you want to hear and that you agree with doesn't mean they're not prompt engineering you. It doesn't mean that. They're doing that to you, right? And it was proof positive when we saw them back up Biden in the 2020 election. So garbage, absolutely garbage. Now, the next thing, right? So remember, the news entirely is fake. There is no right wing is real, left wing is, none of that's real. Okay. It's all garbage. All of it is garbage. Any corporate entity with a boss is creating a situation where the journalists, the writers, the people explaining everything are mentally ill and retarded because they're so weak they need to keep their job, and they'll say anything that will work for them internally. And that's a different value system altogether, right? It's just about corporate ladder. It's a top-down structure, and you're trying to influence that. That's all it is. And we have to just accept that entirely, right? Now, the next thing we always have to learn is, again, know the players. This is what Mike Benz has taught us so well. Who are these people? If you see that something comes from Aaron Rupar, you can instantly say it's fake. Or Mehdi Hassan, fake. It's never real, right? There's all kinds of these characters where you know it's real or fake every single time. And this is an important one here, where we see one of Kamala's backers has sort of exposed herself, and it's Steve Jobs' wife. It looks like Steve Jobs' wife has been involved in the early stages, bought Kamala early, and has been pushing. Now, I don't believe Steve Jobs' wife is a real person, in the sense that I think she's being blackmailed. And I have no proof, none, just my guess. I don't think Steve Jobs' wife woke up and said, what do I do with Steve Jobs' fortune? Maybe I'll buy the Atlantic. Maybe I'll buy some news entities and try to bring on a peaceful, non-bigoted world. Do you think she woke up one day and said that? I don't think so. So she seems like another one of these blackmail victims. Who knows what she did? There's some people that say now this is 100% conspiracy theory imagination about her in particular. No proof whatsoever if this is real. All right. This is literally just people writing trash online and me falling for pattern recognition that isn't necessarily real, but the pattern recognition fits. So I'll repeat it to you. There's people that say that she was basically blackmailed very early with some elaborate scheme that involved AIDS and all kinds of weird shit, and that she will do anything in order to appease the people who enslaved her this way. So I have no proof about that. None. Zero. Literally none. Right? It's just bad pattern recognition of me saying, who could be that stupid? And if it's not stupidity, remember, we've been using the blackmail frame for a long time now. If stupidity alone can't explain it, or if the stupidity level just seems so out of whack with what you'd expect in reality, then you could probably assume there's some blackmail being injected in there. And that blackmail actually explains a lot of the operating system. And I put her in that category, right? So, but she's there, she's out helping Kamala, and we can expect that, right? But again, the lesson is that we've learned from Mike Benz is know the players, right? Know the players. Here's one, right? You get the New York Times writing this David French article this weekend, right? He's going to save conservatism by voting for Kamala. Pardon me, team. I got all kinds of troubles here. I had a Kleenex. 1 second. Thanks for your patience, folks. Yeah, we got something going on. Too much traveling lately, you know? So this David French article, right? So he's been doing this shit for a long time. He's been like an anti-conservative writing in the New York Times forever. Joel Pollak says, the only thing more pathetic than David French's repeated efforts to sell out conservatism and thereby deliver the country to radicals is the eagerness of papers like the New York Times to publish his hair-pulling nonsense. It exposes their propaganda mission. Look at this one now. Barry Weiss, right? Remember, know the players, right? New York Times. If you don't know who Barry Weiss is, right? Barry Weiss is someone we've covered here for a long time. Barry Weiss was with the New York Times, and then she broke away and started her own thing and has criticized the New York Times for being stupid and propaganda and all that stuff. And here they are, the New York Times running a big special on her. She started the Austin University. Barry Weiss knows exactly what she's doing. The founder of the Free Press has built a new media empire by persuading audiences that she is the teller of dangerous truths, right? So, nothing's in the drink. Nothing's in the drink, Muslim Bitcoiner. We're okay. And the coffee is good, and it's got a little special message in the bottom. Right? We like that. So here they are. Again, you got to know the players, right? So for our media literacy, remember the first thing is we understand that all the news is fake, that governments couldn't survive in the fiat world. They have to capture the government. They have to. There's no way it propagates. So government capture of the news is a precondition for a fiat system. It must happen even to ignite it, even to launch it. So that's what we've had for a long time. We've had fake news probably from the beginning. So there you go. Now, I'm not saying you can't get fake news. You can't get real news. You can. If you break the corporate model, if you create the tools that we have here, if you allow people like myself and you guys to gather on Rumble, on X, and you understand that my motivations are like, I want to sell you guys books. You know what I mean? That's about as like, that's to understand my incentives, right? Like I want to share information, and maybe you'll read my books and help my information spread even further. I think this would all be a good thing for humanity if what we learn here continues to propagate, continues to help upgrade and evolve normal media literacy around the world. Bitcoiners require this P2P network to be in place in order to resist the brainwashing stuff, right? We've got to stick together. It's very tribal, but that's what I do it for, right? So the combination of folks like us doing this can create real news, but not with what we've had so far. The hole has been dug already, and we're trying to get out of it. So there you go. But again, remember who we're talking about, right? Knowing the players, like in this case, very important, right? So just knowing who they are. You'll never be able to determine if you know what their motivations and intentions are. I don't know what her motivations and intentions are. I don't know anything about Laureen Powell at all, right? I know a little bit from the biography, the Walter Isaacson biography, where you get a sense of her when you read about what Steve Jobs said about her, but that's it, right? She's not really like a main character in the book or anything like that, but you get a sense of her. So there you go. So remember, it's first of all, you can do the all news is fake. Then who are the players? Know who they are. That will tell you whether or not you should be skeptical or not, right? So none of this stuff is what they're going to give in the UK, by the way, about their education thing, right? Media education. The next and maybe most important one, maybe the most important one for Bitcoiners to watch out for media literacy is the Gman Amnesia effect. Now, Gman Amnesia to us is very obvious, especially when you hear the fake news talk about Bitcoin, right? There's nothing stupider than listening to the fake news describe Bitcoin stuff. You will never be less impressed with how stupid, or less impressed with the intelligence factor, the logic, the reasoning, the writing, the worldview of the fake news than when they talk about Bitcoin. I mean, they are absolutely brain dead. And because we understand Bitcoin, because we're so used to high quality Bitcoin information, because of our P2P information network, which goes back to the meetup culture, we're the closest thing to real news in the world because we're just not affiliated with these corporate structures and our incentives are different, and we want to kill the actual propagation system that makes government words money. And so when government words being money are propagating using the media, we can see it very quickly. And Gman Amnesia is one of the best examples. Gman Amnesia, of course, first coined by one of my absolute mentors in this world, someone who I dedicated to my 20s to learning everything about him and copying his lifestyle and copying some of the stuff he did. I mean, when I was in law school, I was already starting to write science fiction stuff, totally inspired by Michael Crichton's time as a med student when he started writing Andromeda Strain. And if you don't know much about Michael Crichton, he started with Andromeda Strain and then wrote a few others, including the huge mega hit Jurassic Park. But he was also known for being the creator of ER, which was one of the top rated television shows in America in the 1990s. Is where George Clooney comes from, because he was a medical doctor. Now, what he did was in his private time is he wrote a bunch of books about all kinds of things, airline safety, cloning. That's where Jurassic Park comes from. So he was the first guy to come up with the concept of Gman Amnesia, and he named it Gman Amnesia for a funny reason, which is he knew the physicist Murray Gell-Mann, who'd won a Nobel Prize. By the way, this guy, Michael Crichton, knew everybody. Everyone wanted to spend time with him. He was a giant. He was literally 6'10" or something like that. and just knew everything. So every president wanted to have dinner with him. He was just sort of a type of celebrity for the super high IQ people for years. And he used to write all kinds of great newspaper articles, even published in the Playboy. People used to read Playboy for the articles, for real. And that was a joke in the 90s, but for real. Sorry, guys, we're not doing great today. So the Murray Gell-Mann thing is that he noticed, just reading the newspaper with his physicist one day, who saw an article about his profession, right? So Murray Gell-Mann, in whatever he was talking about related to his field through which he won the Nobel Prize, read the article and was like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever read, because it was about his field. And then he turned the page and treated their next story, which was on, Israel or something, as if it was the real. And Michael Crichton said, do you understand this article about Israel is as retarded as the article you just read about your own field to the person who knows this field? And that's the Gman Amnesia. So he just randomly called it Gman Amnesia because it sounded cool. And this guy was an example of it. But this is a real thing, right? We constantly forget how false the news is, except and unless we're reading about things we know about. So look at these headlines, right? Don't be fooled by the crypto resurrection, New York Times, right? What's this one here, right? That Bitcoin magazine, David Bailey announced that there were about 8,000 people in the room when Trump spoke, but the Guardian swears it was 2,000. I mean, it's just a lie, right? And it's just a lie. But people, now we can see that obvious. We can see that this is pure 100% unadulterated propaganda. It's not real. There's no way there were 2,000 people in the room. I was there. It was like you couldn't get in, right? There's no way it was 2,000. It's not even close. And everybody knows it. Everyone who was there knows it. But the Gell-Mann Amnesia thing is people will turn the page and just say, oh, what else does the thing say, right? So of course not. So that's what makes it, pretty interesting. But anyway, here we go. We're going to talk about where this all heads. I'll come back to that. In the end, and this is why it's a good thing, Kamala's got real momentum now, guys. I'm telling you, we're going to see the power of the brainwashing machine. And if you're not impressed by it so far, you're not paying attention, right? You're just not. And because it has to reveal itself in its entirety now. The system has eroded all along the sides. It can't do things with little effort anymore. The entire Leviathan, the entire beast, has to show itself. It's been showing itself since 2020. We've seen from the 2020 election exactly what the contours are. We could guess at it in 2016. Now, as it moves forward, we're getting to see it in its entirety. We know exactly what system we're in now. We are in a fake brainwashing system, and it's flexing its muscles. It's absolutely flexing its muscles with Kamala and Walz. And you're going to be impressed. If you're not impressed already, I mean, they vanished. The laughing thing, that's gone. That's finished, right? It's just joy now. It's just joy. Because of your pattern recognition weaknesses, you're going to hear it. You've been induced into thinking it's joy. Even I can't even get mad at her laughing anymore. It doesn't bug me. And they reframed it, right? So it's over. But here's the thing. And this is where we're headed to, I think, anyway. It's the contrast principle. And the contrast principle is the idea that as we go forward now, we're going to get a sort of mental upgrade. We're going to see the fiat system flex its muscles entirely. We're going to see the full power of it, right? Now, the problem is, if it doesn't win this time, if it doesn't get where it's going this time, it's over forever. And the contrast is going to be obvious, right? The contrast of the high IQ, intelligent people saying this is bullshit will be unlike anything we've ever seen before. We did not see that in 2020. Trump did not have Elon Musk and the strong explainers to come in and explain to them what's going on. You just heard that Morgan Stanley is now sending out its advisors to talk up Bitcoin. You're getting some of the best educators in the world now that are going to be contrasting economic conditions with inflation and economic conditions with a change, right? So the rampant inflation. Now you had Elon Musk talking about inflation this week, right? He came out, he got all criticized. What did he say, right? He came out and said, um, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, he tried to give an explanation of inflation. All the dumb people explained, no, it's not like that, right? But the contrast is going to be there. And you're going to have people who can explain way better and way more simply than this hyped up thing, right? And the contrast is going to be awesome. It's going to be something to behold. And here's where I think it's headed. I think we're going to catch them cheating this time. And I think we're going to be able to explain it to the American population in a way that we never could before, right? And here's what Lafayette Lee says. The press was always able to influence public opinion, but it got a taste of real power after breaking Johnson's presidency and driving Nixon from office. Watergate enshrined that power, and for decades after, the press played a key role in making and breaking politicians and reshaping their priorities. But with the rise of social media, all that changed. Trump's election in 2016 posed a real threat to this uncontested power. And just 8 years later, the press is fighting for its very survival. The Waltz PR catastrophe demonstrates the power of social media to not only flip the narrative and make or break politicians, but interrogate the press and challenge its authority. It should come as no surprise that the journalists are the most aggressive advocates of censorship and efforts to combat disinformation. But if social media ends up breaking walls and derailing Harris, contrary to the will of the press, it will send shockwaves through Washington and mark the end of a corrupt institution whose power has remained largely uncontested for almost 50 years. This is quite literally power to the people. So what's going to happen this year? And I think this is where we're headed, right? I think we're going to be able to catch them. And by catching them, we're going to be able to explain that the whole thing is a scam, that the Gman Amnesia principle is now going to be applied as a superstructure over the entire system. We're going to see the know the players. The whole thing is fake because it's tied to the money. The incentives are 100% baked in. Anyone who needs fiat is a liar. I'm sorry. Like, it's just, you can't avoid it, right? You have to lie to your boss. Doesn't mean you're condemned as a liar to hell. It means that you present a fake picture to your boss in order to preserve your fiat purchasing power. And if you don't fall in line with the way things are, you're not going to make it. But that's going to be gone. That's going to be gone. And it's going to be gone because we're going to have the contrast. We're going to have the contrast of the well-prepared people, the people who understand the world we're living in, who understand why things descend into chaos and it gets so problematic. You're going to have half the population who get it and half the population who are so brainwashed that they're useless. And the contrast is going to be how enough people wake up. And I think it's going to happen this time. Now, hard to say, right? But what's going on tonight, for example, Elon and Trump, is way more powerful, I think, than all this brainwashing. And you're going to see the contrast. Now, you got Trump out there talking about taking control of the Federal Reserve, right? Here he is in this tweet saying that I feel the president should have at least a say on rates. I think I have a better instinct than, in many cases, people that would be on the Federal Reserve or the chairman. Trump is embracing bimetallism at a rate that even surprises me. I don't even know if he understands what he's doing or if he is a bimetalist. But remember what he said from the start, right? I prefer one currency. He's about to try and take over the US dollar, which I welcome. I welcome political forces taking over the dollar entirely, making it into food stamps. The US dollar is about to become food stamps. And I welcome Trump doing it. And I would welcome Kamala doing it too. If Kamala comes into power using the fake everything, right? All the fake everything. And she wins. And we don't even catch a cheat because they were able to cover their tracks so much and da-da-da. No matter what, she's going to have to take control of the dollar because it's going to spiral out of control. And by take control, I mean she's going to have to turn it into food stamps so that you can at least buy, eggs and bread. And the US dollar is going to become food stamps. Whether she wins or loses or Trump wins or loses, it's going to be cleaner under Trump. I think he's embracing Bitcoin for rich people, Bitcoin for energy, Bitcoin for the wealthy, dollars for the sludge people. And Kamala is going to be forced into the same thing. There's just no way around it. So unless she can find another way out of this, which she can't, the dollar is going to be bet against if she wins. You're going to have a situation where Kamala and the purveyors of this US dollar are forced into making sure their backers don't kill themselves and kill everyone from starvation or misery or whatever. So because you're going to have a lot of people bet against the US when it's Kamala, right? And even if they don't, even if the rest of the world says, well, okay, she's still going to have so much domestic manipulation to do. And there's enough people that understand what's actually going on. And enough of the high IQ people that understand what's going on, they're going to continue to defect out of the system. And they're going to join a P2P network with better mental health, better optimism about the future. We're not worried about fucking Death Valley, temperatures in Death Valley, you know? So there you go. All right, team. I'm not feeling great today, so I'm not gonna read many comments. I'm just gonna have to bounce. I feel like coughing all the time. All right. Peace, everyone. I shall see you all tomorrow. Have a great day. Don't worry about Kamala. Again, we're gonna catch them, and it's gonna be hilarious. And the people that come from this P2P network are gonna be the most important people in America pretty soon, in the sense that only we can explain don't trust, verify. We have an opportunity here to give American minds an upgrade, because all they need to know, literally the only thing that needs to happen is don't trust, verify has to become part of the operating system. That is the way that Kamala Harris win will actually turn into an upgrade. That's the Mario mushroom that you eat, right? Don't trust, verify will turn us all into media literate people. That's literally all we have to do. I said yesterday on Twitter that Bitcoin becoming a global reserve currency will be the second most important thing it does this year. The most important thing it does will be giving Americans that mental upgrade of don't trust, verify right into their operating system and in their worldview. If we spread don't trust, verify as a mimetic payload, a missile into everyone's brain, there's no way we can lose. It's a psychological war, and our best weapon is don't trust, verify. And Bitcoin will explain that to people. And the election system is exactly the same as Bitcoin. And so we're in a unique position in that our worldview is actually going to be the most important thing for Americans to navigate going forward. So it's going to be great. All right, team. Peace out. I shall see you all tomorrow. Pardon the sickness. Peace.